All right, guys, I have my hat on, I have my Christmas jumper on, and hopefully everybody can see me. If you can, just click like for me so that I know you're there, and drop me a quick hi in the comments so that I can see you. I think there's a couple of people who are here. Hello, everybody. I'm going to start in a couple of minutes. I'm just making sure that I am live. Got my second screen over here just so that I can see. Okay, perfect, brilliant. So hopefully there is a number of you who've managed to join us today. If not, this will be streamed back onto the group, so it will be on here. Perfect. I can see there's people. Hello, hello, brilliant. And I know that Saba is on, and I think Sheena is on as well, so that we can answer your questions in the comments if need be. Hopefully, it's not going to be that long of a session. I know that there is another live that's going on a little bit later on, so I'm going to finish before then, so that you get time to grab a cup of tea and maybe get back on for the next one. So hopefully, without further ado, I'm going to set up my slides, and then we will be talking about how to maintain motivation over the festive period. So I know that there are some of you out there on the 11 plus journey who will be taking exams in January. So these might be exams that are for independent schools. These might be scholarship exams. These might be all sorts of different exams. But there are also some of you who might be looking for your 11 plus forward in September 2021, and you'll be working out, well, how do I really approach this festive season? What can I do in order to help my child maintain motivation over this time, but also make sure that we get a fun festive season in? Because after the doom and gloom of this year, we obviously want to make sure that we can celebrate as much as we can during this festive season. So whether you are celebrating Christmas, whether you're celebrating Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you might be celebrating, this obviously is a time during the year that the schools break up, and that means that your child is going to be at home, and they will not be in that school routine. So the big thing that we're looking at today is how can we make sure that that they're there, and that they are motivated, and that they are focusing during this time. So as I said, I'm going to load up those slides so that you can see my screen. I've got myself a little PowerPoint just so that we are there. Okay. So hopefully you should be able to see my screen. All right, and I'm also just going to hit record. As I said, it will be available on 11 Plus Journey, but just make sure we are also going to record. Doesn't make anything that you say in the comments come up, just means that I am recording myself. All right. So a little bit just about me. Who am I? I am a full-time tutor. I am also director of the Education Hotel. I'm admin here at the 11 Plus Journey, and I come in and I do the wow words on a Monday. But I also help families navigate 11 plus, 13 plus, GCSE and A levels. So we work with families who are approaching A levels and who are approaching 11 plus, so different ages. This is what I was doing this time last year. And on Boxing Day last year, I flew out to New Mexico in the US, and I worked with one of my residential clients. So I've come on today because this is often what I do. So over residential school holidays, I will fly out to students, and I will work with them intensively. And there are a number of difficulties that we have with that time. The difficulty with working with a student one-to-one during these times is that everybody else is having fun, and everyone else is at home, and it's noisy, and events are happening. So people might be coming in and out. Obviously, this time this year, it's most likely to be virtual events, but there are still things that are happening. There are still nativity plays. There are still there was a Santa run in our village really recently. Santa came and visited last night, and there was loads of stuff that's going on that we need to make time for. Obviously you've got time off school, and and you've got this problem with focusing. So, given that I often deal with students residentially during this time, I said to Saba, could I come on and speak to you guys and hopefully pass on some tips? And she's been very gracious. She's let me come back on again, and so hopefully I can answer and sort some of those questions. So we all know that stopping over Christmas is going to lose us focus. And the first thing that I will say, and I will say it several times throughout this presentation, it is your choice. Every child is different. So if for you stopping over Christmas completely is the right choice, then go for it. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. But if you think, actually, I would like to maybe decrease what we're doing and maintain that motivation, but keep on going over Christmas, these are hopefully going to be some tips and tricks to help you. So, here's the first thing that I would say: advance knowledge. So, when I turn up, for example, on Boxing Day with my students, I will ask them to design a timetable with me. This is a timetable that I recently made for a student I was seeing over October half term, and this was what we agreed together. So it is something that is typed out. It has specific time slots. We'll talk about timetabling in a little bit, but we did it together. Now, we didn't design free time together. Actually, there is a separate timetable for our free time. I just don't have it here. We decorated it and we put it up where we were working. Everybody was aware that is the time that we are working, and therefore that is the time we are not to be disturbed. So if you are applying this over Christmas, then make sure you sit down with your child, write out that timetable, get their buy-in. Ask them what would they like to do in their free time? Would they like to work in the morning? Would they want to work in the afternoon? It means that they're more likely to stick to it. Hang it somewhere public so that immediate family knows. I would say when you've got family coming over for Christmas, when that bubbling is introduced from the 23rd, I would probably take that timetable down so that it doesn't become a focus. Because often, and as I'll allude to a little bit later, often when people come round, we start to kind of focus on maybe things that link us, and really 11 plus chat isn't something that we might want to be talking about. The big one that everybody asks is how many days off. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again before I finish this, it is an entirely individual preference. So some people will take off Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Some people will choose to do around the government rules, 23rd to the 27th. Some people will take from the 24th, Christmas Eve, all the way over until New Year is done. It's your choice. But do remember that the days after you restart, you won't be as focused as when you stopped. So be prepared for this and allow, I would say, 3 days to get back into the swing, especially if you've taken 4 or 5 days off. So do try and plan that in, especially if you have exams early to mid-Jan, knowing that you're going to have to ramp back up. You're going to have 3 days where that focus isn't going to be quite there, where they would have forgotten a couple of little bits of timing, where you might have to remind them on a couple of things. It's only a few days off, and yet somehow we get a little bit, we take a little bit of a breather, and we stop focusing quite so much. So I would say it takes about 3 days to come back to being able to be that focused. Stealth work is something I really enjoy doing over Christmas. And interestingly, so over the last 6 days and the next 6 days, the Education Hotel has been running our 12 Days of Christmas competition. You may have seen it on the group. And what tomorrow's is actually our Christmas activities workbook. So our Christmas activities workbook has 10 different activities related to Christmas, but involve math, English, verbal, non-verbal. So this whole stealth work is theming things around Christmas, keeping it fun, keeping it festive, but at the same time, you are practicing those key skills. So I've given a math example down there. If you can fit 15 presents under one tree, how many presents would fit under 5 trees? That type of worded question is often something that students find hard to work with, especially under time constraints. So Christmas is a great time to make those worded math problems. So another one that we've got in the activities book is an area. Again, often area and surface area becomes a bit of a difficulty, but we've talked about it in terms of wrapping presents. So do think about maybe theming some of that work if you can. And as I said, the activities book that we've got, it's got math in it, it's got English in it, it's got verbal and non-verbal, but we've also mixed in a bit of baking and a bit of craft. So it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like something you have to do every day. Instead, you've got a couple of activities that are baking related, that are craft related, that are all about having fun around this festive time. How do you explain to extended family? And this is something again that comes up with parents when they're asking me, they're saying, look, we've got extended family coming over, and we don't want there to be any awkwardness over the fact that one of our children is working, or indeed sometimes when I'm with them, that there is a tutor there who is working with them. And I would play it slightly differently, dependent on whether you're looking at brothers and sisters or whether you're looking at a slightly more extended family. So with brothers and sisters, I would use them use their seeing this as a learning exercise, especially if they're younger. If they're younger, they may well be approaching 11 plus a couple of years later, but make sure that they've seen how much effort that their older sibling is putting in. If they are an older sibling, it's likely they would have been through that process together. Reward their support. So often, whilst you might be spending time with their elder sibling, doing some work over the festive period, they might have to entertain themselves. But make sure that they are rewarded for allowing that time. It's a team effort. So you want them to be as much on the side of their sibling as possible, and try and do something together. So, is it that they have Christmas homework that they could be doing? Or could you set them on a word search whilst your eldest is learning about vocab rules? So, try and do something that maybe makes them feel like they're part of it. For an extended family, I would look a little bit differently. For a start, I would say Christmas is a really great time for vocab games. So I've popped here on the 4th of December, we released our 200 most used 11 plus words, and then that was sent out to our mailing list. It's still being sent out to our mailing list. So if you're interested, just drop your email in there. But it's a great way to do this is to use the festive season to try and practice vocab games. So something like describing what the tree looks like, but you can't use the word green and you can't use the word tall, and you have to think of alternatives. So often these kind of fun games help with being able to feel like you're having a good time, but at the same time, maybe doing a little bit of sneaky practice in there. The other thing that I would say with aunties, uncles, cousins is to not dwell on the 11 plus, especially if that's not a day that you're doing any work. Often with younger ones or with cousins that might not be taking the exam, they'll often ask, "Oh, why can't so and so come and play?" And don't dwell on it. Just say, "Oh, well, it's going to be half an hour, and then they can." So move on to it, and never belittle them. So never say about your child, "Oh, well, they've still got to do 30 minutes because they never bothered this morning." It's a hard thing to work when there's other people in the house that are having fun, that are watching video games, that are doing lots of fun things that you'd rather be doing. So a small, they'll be here in 30 minutes. They're working really hard, and please don't go and disturb them. Let's go and redirect somewhere else. That would be how I would deal with extended family. And the other thing I would just say, actually, with that extended family, is if you have cousins who've previously taken the exam, don't I wouldn't compare what they did last year to what your child is doing this year. They're different people. So again, often the subject of 11 plus preparation comes up during Christmas. And I would just say to them that we're doing it differently, or give them a quick kind of rundown, but also make sure that you say how proud you are of your children who are doing this work during this time. If they've had to have exams that are moved, or if they're going into independent exams having taken the 11 plus exams a little bit earlier, so they're dead Januaries, then do tell tell their relatives how proud you are of them. And I wouldn't get into a debate over whether you should be doing an hour or 2 hours because their cousin did a different amount of time last year. It's something that it can cause a bit of friction. And obviously during festive times, we do try and talk about things that we both have in common. If the 11 plus is that, I would purely just say that we're doing it our way. This is the way we've chosen to do it. You do want to have a longer conversation, try and do it out of earshot, so that it doesn't cause a problem. It doesn't cause any kind of issue. Rewards the when you're stuck in a room all day, and I know this because when I sit there with students of mine, they will say, oh, everybody else is playing Mario Kart, everybody else is skiing, everyone else is doing this, doing that, and they're like that cow. They think that the grass is always greener. Actually, siblings might not be doing something fun, or their cousins might not be doing something fun outside. But I often find that they're trying to use an excuse. So, oh, I'm just gonna go and get a drink. And really, what that means, I'm going to go and see what everybody else is doing because I want to be doing it too. I don't want to be here working. I'm just going to go to the toilet. I'm just going to have an argument with you about doing this page, and that argument's going to go on longer than the page would, so that I can try and get out of it. And that's going to be my way of wanting to do something else. So do try and work with your child who's doing the 11 plus, possibly in the same room. And if you need to be doing some work, some emails, something you can quietly do in the corner, let them know that you've got to do that work too. I've seen there's a couple of people who are saying, how would you keep younger children busy? I would look on something like Twinkle and be finding their worksheet, but not something which would take your attention, because ultimately we want to make sure that, especially if the your 11 plus child has an independent exam in January, that you do want to be able to help them. Or if you have another parent who is able to do something with a younger child whilst you work with the elder child in the same room, that might be an alternative way. Again, as I said, do try and do things together as a family. So whether that's vocab games, Scrabble's a great one, math games, challenges. So sometimes I'll do a Christmas scavenger hunt where they have to go around the house and solve different problems, and you can do that for 2 different ages. Um, if your 11 plus child is working in the morning, then do plan a reward for them. So maybe they have their advent calendar after they've done their work, or they have a hot chocolate. I'm aware that I put 2 food ones in there. I'm clearly thinking of Christmas dinner, but you could do something such as half an hour on a video game, or you could do something as a family. So make sure that they do have those rewards in there so that they know when they are finished with their work, that is what you're going to be doing. And do plan in fun stuff. So fun stuff, make sure they know it's happening, make sure they're aware of it. It's in that timetable, it's thought beforehand. Timetable and routine. So we've all heard of SMART targets. And on the 8th, we'll be releasing our SMART revision plan. But just for you guys on the 11 plus journey, I've decided to put it on here as well. Hopefully it makes a little bit of difference in terms of you thinking ahead on how you might be able to plan your time over Christmas. So S would be for specific tasks, and a specific task to me is a specific page number. So knowing that you're going to do these pages in the CGP 10-minute test, or you are going to do 30 minutes of atom learning. M is my personal goals. So not anybody else's, yours. So if your goal is to learn a specific spelling rule, or be able to tackle any fractions question, that would be a personal goal. It's not anybody else's goal, it's yours. And I use this for students who are doing GCSEs as well, where their goals may be different to their classmates. So they might be aiming for a 9, or they might be aiming for a 6. It doesn't make a difference. It's not impacted by everybody around you. So that is your own personal goals. A is for a little and often. So 2 A's in that. For me, and when I work with students, for them as well, a little and often is much better than big, long stretches. So a 30-minute slot, a 45-minute slot, at stretch an hour. With students who tend to be 11 plus, I tend to go for 30 or 45 minutes, and then something to be a bit lighter and varied as well. Are reachable. There is no point saying, you know what, it's Christmas, we're now going to be getting 95%, when your child has previously been getting 60s. Just having the extra time over Christmas is not going to make them suddenly increase. So make sure that that is a reachable goal. You want them to go away feeling like they have achieved something every day. And then T for try, and try again. So there will be points, and there are points throughout the whole 11 plus journey, where it doesn't quite go to plan. So where you have tried and you've taught a way of telling time, or you've taught a way of timetabling, and then you give them a question and it just doesn't work. So you try a different way. So try, and try again is about using lots of variety in learning and not giving up. So whether that variety is taking out a load of bananagrams and getting them to spell different words in bananagrams, whether it is writing out the words in sentences, whether it is performing the words. So lots of different versions, whether it is, I think previously I mentioned, or I might have mentioned in one of our 12 Days of Christmas, one of my favorite ones over the holidays is where you give your child a secret list and they have to slip it into conversation in your hearing, so that you can hear them do it without laughing and without giving the game away. So that's always quite a fun one to do when family is over. You might give them, or when you're on Zoom to them, you give them a specific word that they have to put into conversation, and they tend to remember it because they've had to work around, they've had to try and fit something in. And if the game is up, is if the person that they are asking the question to starts to question why they're asking, or why they're using that word. So loads of different variety. Let's make it fun. Let's make it impactful, because there's no point having something over Christmas that you've fought with them to do and then it's just not impactful as well. There we are. I thought I hadn't put this slide in, but it's it's one that's a really big thing. So at Christmas, you're often speaking to extended family, and you might have extended family on Zoom, or you might be doing a Christmas quiz, and the topic of conversation may go to how are you preparing for the 11 plus, or how they're preparing for the 11 plus. And they might want to offer you tips. They might want to say, oh, well, this is what we did last year. They might want to ask your child how it's going, and discuss how that preparation is going. But please, please, please don't compare or put your child down in front of them. So phrases that I particularly don't like hearing. The last few weeks haven't gone well. Stephen hasn't put much effort into his Christmas revision. The worst one to ever happen in front of earshot of a child. I'm not sure if they're going to pass. And then just leaving it at that. If you are not certain they're going to pass, then let's have a conversation about the work that they've been putting in and the effort that they have been applying. And also, didn't your daughter do 4 hours of work every single day last Christmas? Isn't going to make your child do 4 hours of work every Christmas day. It's just going to make them feel rubbish. So it's not going to have the desired effect. And instead, much better to be say, okay, this is what we're doing, and we've been working really well. Or if they really want to offer tips and tricks, there might be one of those in there that is useful. You can thank them very much for that, and take that forward. But remember, your child is different to theirs, even if they are relations, even if they are going for the same school, even if they did get into the school. You work in different ways. So don't feel the need to tell everybody about what's happening and compare your child to them. So I have two kind of final slides. I said it would be quick. That are, what if the exams are in early January, and what if the exams are in September for next year? Felt a bit weird writing 2021. Feels like 2020's definitely not just happened. So first of all, what if exams are in early January? So this will be for you guys who are taking maybe independent exams, or who have taken 11 plus exams and are also taking independence, or I think everybody is done with grammar 11 plus. I think everyone is done with second stage. If there are any other little bits, I'm sure Sheena or Sab will let me know. But if your exams are in early January, or if you're watching this and you've got GCSE mocks coming up, or A levels or anything like that, I would say little and often is much better than long. So I put here 2 daily 1 hour slots. That's typically what I will do with residential students. So I will do between 2 and 3.5 hours when I'm residential with them, when that is the entire time I'm with them. So 5 hours a day, it sounds like a great work idea. In reality, it never happens. And you end up burnt out, and you end up tired, and you end up going into the exam absolutely knackered, and it never turns out very well. So little and often spread. I prefer to do it in the morning, get it done. Okay, there's still a couple of state exams to set. Self-isolation makes sense. So I prefer to do it in the morning, or indeed one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It depends on what you've got going on. So if you are needing to do a load of Christmas baking, you might use that to break up your time, or you might use that as a motivation to get it done in the morning. So do consider little and often. You know how much your child works, and you know how much to push them. But what I would prefer to do would be slots throughout the day, or slots in the morning, rather than just sitting down and working, because working from 9 o'clock through to 2 p.m. is too much work. Yes, it is what they do at school, but there are breaks in there. It's a lot more. There's 30 children in a class. It's not just one to one. If your exams are early January, so if you are one of those self-isolation students, or you're looking at independence, do consider a smaller break for Christmas and New Year. As I said, 3 days to get back into the swing of it after a break. So if you're thinking we might take from the 23rd to the 27th, consider that really you're going to be back to full capacity in terms of working around New Year. So if you're then going to be taking New Year off as well, what are those 3 days going to be like? I would be looking at specific topics where you know you need to improve. Those three days being three specific topics. Again, making sure that they are done in multiple ways and that they are specific tasks. Lots and lots of variety. I've mentioned before, bringing in some of those younger siblings, things like Scrabble, increasing word knowledge, doing some Christmas baking with ratios. So maybe give them the recipe that's only for two Christmas cookies, and they have to scale it up to 8. And do remind them about why they are doing this. So If they are starting to push back, as we said, the grass is always greener. So, especially when your siblings are maybe sitting down and watching a Christmas movie, as Sheena said, definitely a way that we would occupy a younger or indeed an older sibling. Um, the grass can sometimes be greener. So, do make sure that they know why they're doing this and they know that you are fully behind them and that you really, really, really push how proud you are of them putting this effort in over Christmas time and how proud you are about the progress that they've made. So do remember those 3 days and try not to burn them out. If there are some people on here that are watching this who are thinking that their child is going to take their 11 plus next September, I would be taking a longer break, because if you think ahead, you've got February half term, you've got Easter, you've got half term, you've got summer. So you have got a number of holidays that are coming up, and summer is probably your big one where you need to work out how much you're going to be doing this Christmas a little bit longer. I would be much I would be more focused on getting them used to working after school or weekends if they're not already. So if your child, they've just entered year 5, they're not used to doing any work outside of school, and you've decided that you're going to make this go for 11 plus. Maybe they have never been considering 11 plus before, or maybe you've been doing tuition but you've been doing kind of a group session once a week, there's not been any work set, and now you're thinking maybe we ramp it up a little bit. I would be using Christmas as just a way of easing in, so smaller, kind of more specific task, and getting them used to the fact that maybe 10 minutes a day is something that they can do on a weekend or something that they can fit in. So get them used to doing that work, and build up that practice session. So as I said, I'd start with 10 minutes, and I would start with a very small task that I know that they can achieve with, and then I would extend it a little bit as it goes over Christmas. So I'd have a longer break in the middle. So I would be probably stopping maybe on the 23rd. I might take all the way up until maybe the 1st, but I would still make sure that there's little bits either side that is 11 plus work. And if you wanted to move into that break period, again, just keep it short. Make sure that they are then used to the idea of they're going to do their 11 plus work in the morning. And I think it's Sheena who said she used to do the 11 plus non-verbal reasoning in the morning. And it's a great thing to do. And just it just takes 10 minutes. So if that's something that you're looking into getting them used to this, use this holiday period as a way of installing that work ethic. So really do push them to do a little bit of work, but also the the real push is on making sure that they're going to be consistent, because that's going to stand you much better when it comes to an Easter holiday, or when it comes to a summer holiday, or when it comes to September. So if you've got that consistent ability, you know that they're going to be able to sit down, they're going to be able to do a bit of work every day, and it's going to be a short piece of work. They're going to be much more, it's going to be much easier to work with them from January. Use this time to focus on something really specific. So if you know that there is a problem area that you would like to work on, you have the time to be able to do it in lots of different ways. So again, if it's vocab, then get hold of that 200 word list from us and start doing different ways to learn. So sneaking it into conversation, doing it on bananagrams, doing it as a Pictionary. There's anagrams or something that's a little bit more fun. If you need to focus specifically on fractions within math, it's probably the first thing that comes to mind. It's quite foundational, but it is something that will trip them up. Then this is the time to be asking them loads of different word-based problems around fractions, which is what we've tried to do in that Christmas activities pack. It's what we've tried to do with some of our students to make sure that they are then used to having answered everything that there is to do on that specific area, the area where they weren't too confident going into the Christmas period. Make sure that your child is aware of the aims as well. So if they just think that they're just doing 10 minutes because then it's not really that interesting and there's no motivation behind it. If they know that they're doing 10 minutes because they are working on memorizing 20 words over Christmas, or they are working on becoming masters of fractions, that suddenly sets the frame a little bit better. All right. So I finished quite early. That is it. Yes, that is it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a quick look and see if anybody has any questions. I know that Sheena and Saba have been on the messages, so hopefully they've been scrolling through. But let's just have a moment. There we are. Sheena did do those that 10 minutes non-verbal. Perfect. That's true. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, and so we've got a couple of people who've been asking about what to do with my younger child. Um, the things that we would be doing would maybe be around making them their own Christmas activities booklet. So actually, the one that we've done is for year 4 up to year 6. But if you have a younger child, then do have a look on something like Twinkle. I know that they do a couple of Christmas activities books. They are a more basic kind of book, but it's something that would then keep them busy. Try not to take something like baking. It seems like it's a really good way to keep them occupied, but at the same time, you're taking away that fun activity from your child. So if you are going to do it with a younger sibling, then make sure that you do the same with the elder siblings so they don't feel left out. Or maybe you can get them involved in delivering a Christmas card list, or the younger sibling can go and do some decorating, or can do something that maybe isn't that interesting, maybe not decorating, but can do something that isn't that interesting of a task, but needs to be done around that festive season. Okay. Saba says, oh, okay, she put the others in clubs during holidays. Again, yep, unfortunately not available this year, which would be a bit of a problem. But hopefully we can find ways to, yeah, I'd be using Screen Sheena too. I would probably be using screens. But again, remembering that they know the reason that they're doing it, and trying maybe not to do it very near where your other child is working, because if they can hear a Christmas movie in the background, again, the grass is always greener. So trying to get something that isn't something that your eldest would like to do, but at the same time is going to occupy your youngest. And that might be doing a jigsaw puzzle or writing thank you letters. That one can always be quite useful, and your youngest child might be able to do that for your eldest, and your eldest then can go and fill in some details, or they might be able to design the outsides. They might be able to envelope up those thank you letters, or they might be able to, if you've got them before Christmas, they might be able to be sending letters to, say, care homes, or they might be able to be doing something completely different. But something that's going to keep them working, keep them active, and maybe keep them out of the way a little bit, so that your 11 plus child can work. All right. Do let me know if you've got any other questions. I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes just live to make sure that there's nobody else who has anything else. I think I've sorted any other questions. If Saba and Sheena, let me know if there is anything else that's not been answered. And hopefully I can answer it just before I head off this evening. All right. Here we are. So, if you've asked for timetable with topics, everybody's preparation is different. So everybody has a different timetable that they would stick to, depending on what your child has done, depending on the year that they're in, depending on what they struggle with. What I would do is there are lists of maths and English, and actually I'll send it to you straight after this call. We have a list of math and English. I would go through and I would look at those skills and really focus on the skills that your child has done this year that may need a bit of practice, and then start putting those into, as I said, those 30-minute, 45-minute slots. And obviously, because everyone does a different amount of work around Christmas, there isn't one timetable that fits everybody. But ultimately, you're looking at something. If you're taking the exam in January, so you're taking you've had to self-isolate, or you're taking those independent exams, then you probably have covered all topics. If you're taking your 11 plus in September, then you might be looking to tick off one or two of those topics over Christmas, maybe some of those trickier ones. And Nadia, yes, this should be recorded. It will be, well, it should be live in the group. So that means that it will just turn into a video once we are done. And then hopefully lots of people can watch and comment. And you should be able to go back to the beginning as well. So if anybody has struggled, and yep, it will be there. Brilliant. And do drop me anything that needs to be sorted down there. Yep, she will be in the group. Okay. And I think we're done. Brilliant. I think we are. Okay. So thank you for listening. And thanks to Saba for letting me go live again in the group. I know that people sometimes see a lot of me here, but hopefully it's helpful, and we'll give you some tips and tricks to deal with this festive period. As I said, always do ask questions in the 11 plus journey group. We are always here to help. The admins are here to help. There are lots of tutors, there are lots of educationalists on the group. There's also lots of parents who've just been through this process, who are great at advice. In terms of everything else, this recording will be up on the 11 plus journey group. You will see me for Monday's Wow Words. You'll also see my posts about getting access to things like our vocabulary lists and our Christmas activities, booklets, hopefully throughout this week. If you are stuck, then do just ask us a question, and we will do our best to answer it. I've left us 15 minutes, I think, before another video I seem to remember is starting in a different group. So Merry Christmas, enjoy the festive season, Happy Hanukkah, Great Kwanzaa, and yeah, do ask us any questions if we can help over this festive season and beyond. So thanks very much. Bye bye.